Alright, welcome back. It's been a couple days, so we've got most of the rivets out around the bus, but there's some damage on the sheet metal. So I need to go around the bus and flatten out any damage, and then sand on any scratches and knock out any rivets cores that are remaining. So I'm going to start by trying to flatten the worst part of this with a hammer and dolly. Alright, so I'm going to back this rail up with this chunk of metal and just see if this works. Yeah, I think it's working pretty good. Good enough. Alright, and also I got to go around and scrape off all the old adhesive off the hat channels so it doesn't interfere with the new adhesive and sheet metal. Also around these holes where I knocked out the rivet, the metal's kind of bent. So I'm going to do the same method I did with the drip edge and go with the hammer and the dolly and just flatten those out so the new sheet metal sits nice and flat. So I'm just going around with this flat dolly. It has a flat edge on it. And I'm lining it up on the holes here and looking for a gap. And if there's a gap, I hammer it right here from the other side and flatten it out. These are pretty good. Maybe I can show you an example. Here we go. So that one has a nice bump right there. So I need to hammer that down and just go all the way around using this as a straight edge, kind of looking for anything sticking out. See, that one's pretty bad too. And flattening everything out. So I still got to take these windows out and do it on the drip edge. Just kind of straighten out the metal in preparation for the new metal before I make the cuts to raise the roof. Alright, so now I'm going around with these tools. So the first thing I'm doing is going around with a punch and a hammer, knocking out any of the cores of the rivets that are left in after air hammering. And if I can't knock them out with the punch, I have a 1/4 inch drill bit. But I'm only going 1/4 inch because I'm going up. I'm getting 1/4 inch rivets. So if you're going to stay with the stock rivets, don't oversize it. And then any edges that are kind of bent up, I have the hammer and dolly to flatten them. And then I'm going to come with this roll lock disc. I got these from O'Reilly's. These are the coarse brown pads, just to clean up any scratches, burrs, anything like that, grinding marks. And then I'm going to hit it with this primer just to keep it from rusting until I move forward with the project. So that's what I'm doing. Remember, safety goggles, not glasses, not a face shield, goggles. Alright, so this is flinging a lot of dust over the fresh metal, and I don't want to spray paint over it, so I'll probably hit it with, I just have some brake cleaner and a rag. Probably acetone or mineral spirits would be best, but I don't have any right now, so I'll use brake cleaner. Alright, so almost done with the back end. I'll know it's ready when I see a black stripe, so I'm just going to do that all the way around. Hammer, remove rivet cores, flatten, all that stuff. Smooth all the way around the bus. Alright, so I've just been going around the bus, you know, prepping the edges, knocking it down, grinding off any metal burrs, sanding it down. So I was using, well, I used them all up, but the Scotch-Brite, coarse Scotch-Brite pad on this, and that's good for removing metal and smoothing the metal out. Let me see if I have one in the trash. Here. So that's good. It burns them up quick, but it smooths the metal out and gets any burrs and scratches out. So it actually removes metal. But then coming back, I was going back with a 220 on the orbital sander, but that's just not coarse enough. As you can see, how ugly that is. Really, you can still see the grinding marks in there from that Scotch-Brite, and it just looks really bad. So I'm going to go back over it with a 150 grit sanding disc and see if I can smooth that out a little better. Alright, so I just hit it with a 150, and as you can see, it cuts through the paint pretty quick. So I'm going to go over it with the 220 and then see, hit it with some flat primer and see if I can still see all those marks. Okay, so that's before, and then this is after. So it's better, but you can still see the original bus paint line. And I want to get this done now while I can get in there before I put rivets in, because then there's no sanding around the rivets. it would be super tedious with a piece of sandpaper by hand to get in between each rivet. So I want to get all the sanding done now while the rivets aren't in. So I'm going to go ahead and do is take the 150 and I'm just going to take it down to metal, you know, pretty high to where I can get to it later and feather it out and blend in the original bust paint with the metal better later on. But I want to get in between the rivets all down to metal for now. Okay, so I'm probably a little too picky on this, but I'm learning as I go here. So that's a good blend right there, from metal through the primer to the paint. So you probably wouldn't see that once it's painted, but something like that where it's a hard from metal straight to the upper layer is that's what I'm seeing behind this. You know, that's what I'm seeing, like there. You know, that line right down there is that hard transition. So I need to feather out the transition from paint to metal a little wider like that. So if I hit this with spray paint, give me 1 second and I'll see if I can see it after I spray it. All right, so I know the lighting's really bad, but I was right. You know, the more I kind of blend it, you can't really see the transition line between the paint and the metal. Also just been working on, there was a few rivets down in here on the rub rail. Just been working on getting those last few rivets out, so I got the rub rail off. Now, one thing I didn't notice before is, here's a good example of how that has a bump in it. So I'm gonna flatten these out with the hammer, any of these raised where I knocked the rivets out from the inside, and then go around and scrape all this, because the new metal's got to go flush with this. So I want to get all this old glue and sealant scraped off or grind it off or whatever I need to do to get it off. And then I'm going to tie in my sheet metal. I'm going to remove this rivet, which it's actually loose, and I'm going to tie in my sheet metal to this first rivet all the way around. I don't know why, but I just felt like, and then that'll get me about, if I bring it, these gloves are really thick, but if I bring the new sheet metal line right in between these two rivets, it'll be about halfway between the rub rail. So yeah, I need to remove this panel. We're getting rid of this panel. It's trash pretty much. So I'm gonna get these rivets out, get this panel out of the way. But this one I'm keeping, so I gotta make sure not to mess it up. And then coming around here, so this panel needs to come out because I'm matching up to the factory lines, right? So my new sheet has got to go behind this because, you know, driving down the road with the rain, the front pieces always overlap the rear, unlike this, but like these, like the front piece is on top of the back piece, and it keeps going like that. The front piece is on top of the back piece. So I want to keep that as I'm going down the road in the rain. I don't have, you know, pretty much pressurized water shooting into these seams. And the same thing going down. You know, you always want the upper piece of metal to be on top of the lower piece of metal, so that when it rains, it's not getting into the seam. So yeah. Anyway, But this panel I need to save. But I think I can take it off. I just need to take off the antenna from the inside. And then these screws and these rivets. But I gotta be careful not to damage this because I'm gonna reuse it. Alright, so I flattened out these holes pretty good all the way down this side. So I just I put this dolly on the inside. You know, I just like put it in the back. I can't really see it, but you know, I put it behind the hole there and then hammered it from the front. And just did that all the way around. Gotta do it on the other side. So right now I'm just really prepping for the sheet metal. I scraped with the paint scraper all the glue here. I might come back with like a light sanding disc just to get any other little high spots down and any other sealant that's sticking up. And then yeah, just any other rivet holes that are sticking out. I think I did this side, I could do the other side, and then continue on the top. You know, knocking out any rivets, sanding down any scratches like that, and priming it all the way around the bus. I got to continue to do that. Okay, now going inside, let me zoom out here. So you can see over here the roof layer is just peeling up after those rivets are out, which is good. I want all that to come apart. It's gonna obviously be riveted back later, but I also want this part of the roof to peel up because I need, in some spots, up to 2 sheets of steel to go between the hat channel and the roof skin, the drip edge, right? So I need to pull it back in order to get the metal up under there. Right now it's pretty tight, but I've even removed the first 2 rivets on each hat channel to help that roof come up. But I'll show you why it's not coming up. So right here, so you see the gap that I have. It's not, maybe a piece of paper could fit in between there, but definitely not a sheet of metal, and definitely not 2 sheets of metal. Now, so I need this to go out. Now to do that, you see this is all one piece with this, and this is welded to the hat channel. So this layer can't go out because it's trapped in here. So what I'm gonna do is make a cut here and here on each side of the hat channel. That way this can go out. Now it won't be able to go out very much because, as you can see up here, it can only go out as far as that gap is. But I think that will be enough to get the sheet metal in. So if I can get that butted up with the hat channel, that will create enough room in here to get the sheets in. I hope that makes sense. So if not, you'll see as we progress with this. So I'm gonna make all those cuts on every hat channel all the way around the inside of the bus, and I'm gonna see if this roof will peel back. All right, so I made a few cuts just to test it out, and I could feel as soon as I made the cut, the roof popped out. So if you, I'm going to show you in here, and now I got plenty of room for the 2 sheets. So that's perfect. I'm going to do that all the way around the bus, and then, you know, I'm sure these are, you know, have some structural importance. So when this is all riveted back together, I will bridge these with a weld or a plate of steel or something to maintain the structure. So yeah, I'm just going to do that same thing all the way around the bus on every hat channel, and hopefully this roof pops out where I need the sheet metal in. So I'm still thinking of where I'm gonna make the cuts, and I think I figured it out right here. As you can see, this thing is cracked already. That wasn't cut. I'll need to cut it, but interesting, that was already cracked. You know, take this window out, and then the cut is gonna be right there, across that hat channel, right at the top of the window frame. And then I'll need to cut this weld. And actually, I may have to just cut a chunk of this out all the way so that I can cut all the way through the hat channel down here. And then I need to be careful of the skin behind it. I believe, so I don't know if I'm going to keep the piece that's right behind this or not. I'll need to see. But I'm going to have one cut here. And then right here, this hat channel ends right here. So I'm just going to cut it right along there. No big deal. That one's easy. And then over here, it gets a little complicated. Let me grab a marker. So this was pretty confusing to me. But this kind of helped me make it easier. It's just by thinking like what's going up and what's staying down. Because, you know, obviously I'm doing a 12-inch roof raise on this. So, you know, where does the lower part end and the upper part start? So I can come over here and I know that this is going up. I know that this is going up. I know that this is going up. I know that this part of the hat channel is going up. All right, so what is staying down? Right, well, the door frame needs to stay intact and it needs to stay down. So that's staying down, that's down, that's down, right? So we have to make a separation somewhere between these arrows and these arrows. And then this hat channel here is staying down. So, you know, what made sense to me is, I'm sorry, I'm trying to film and write and all this at once. Or I guess not film, but video. Okay, and then, so, this is really where it's going to be cut here, all the way across on the hat channel. And then this needs to be separated from this because it's staying. This is staying. So there is our separation point between the upper parts and the lower parts, is that line. So just thinking about what goes up, what's staying down, it kind of helped me determine where I want to make the cut. So looking at this joint again from the outside, so I went ahead, this was held in with screws, but this is actually part of the whole door frame. So that sheet on the outside is actually this. So it's part of the door frame. I don't want to cut all these welds out all the way around. I don't know. I may have to. I don't know. And then just use this as the door frame, and then this. So maybe I do take these pieces, this piece, and this piece out. I don't know yet. But I will not be keeping the stock door. I'm going to put my own door in. So let me show you the other panel I'm worried about is this one. My sheet metal, new sheet metal, it's got to go at least as far as the last rivet right there on that drip edge. So I'm thinking I need to take these rivets out here and get this panel removed, because then, you know, again, the new sheet metal, really I think the new sheet metal should tie in behind this. I think that's going to be the best case scenario. So we go under the drip edge and continue it a little farther past this screw line here, so that it ties in. And when the wind is going this way and water is going that way, it will go over this seam, over the new sheet metal, and we don't have the new sheet metal overlapping like this where water can, you know, come up underneath it. So yeah, now this is open, you know, this is off enough where I can get sheet metal behind it. But it looks like I am going to have to go ahead and remove these rivets and take this plate out. And then when I make the cut up there on that corner, I have to be careful not to damage this piece. So I may have to stick some wedges, where's my hand, stick some wedges up there so that when I cut the hat channel, I have room to cut the hat channel without cutting this piece. No, it's probably a little confusing, but hopefully it'll make sense as I continue. So yeah, the piece that's riveted on is this one that I want to get out. I believe is this one. Is it? Let's see. No, this is the one that's unscrewed. So really I need to get this window out of here. Let me do that real quick. Okay, so I got the window out. Yeah, so going outside, you see this panel. And yeah, there's no way to get that panel out from out of the way from cutting it without removing these rivets and taking the panel out. And I don't think we'll need that panel once I put the new sheet metal. I think, again, I'm gonna run right. I'm hanging out the side with one hand and a marker and a phone in one hand. I'm sorry. So the sheet metal goes under this piece. And we'll just remove this piece. So, recap, cut here, cut this piece out so that I can get behind here, wedge this sheet out so I don't cut it, remove this outer piece, and cut right here. And I can weld all that stuff back up together once I raise the roof, you know, to keep the structural integrity. So that is that cut. That cut's easy, right there in between the two plates. This cut, so, you know, what's going up, what's coming down, right? So this is staying down. This is going up. This is going up. This is going up. Up. All that's going up. That's Okay, all that's going up, you know, the front cap. So this is bridging the upper and the lower. So I need to get rid of this. Need to get rid of that because that's going up. That's staying down. So we got to get rid of that bridge so they can separate. And that one too. We'll get to that side in a second. Now, to separate this and this, these two, there's a weld back here. So I need to get something in there and break that weld, cut that weld out to separate the hat channel from this, I don't even know what I would call it. Front support. Now coming down here, that's staying, and this is part of that. So, and this is the lower rivet line. So the lower rivet line has to stay. So that's staying, that's staying. So I'm thinking to make my cut about right here, right across the top of this plate, and then you know, back and through there. That's where I'm thinking of making the cut. Now this hat channel in the front is different. It does not have, see, this has a flange on one side. Most of them have a flange on both sides, right? This one only has a flange on one side. This side is just a square tube, pretty much. So once I cut that weld and make a cut on this flange and across here, this should be free from, you know, if I can get in there with the camera. So this part, the window frame part, needs to stay down. That's a really bad arrow. That's supposed to be a down arrow, but that's staying down. So I don't want to have any cut lines. Where's my marker? I don't want any cut lines that pass this piece of metal in front of it. I don't want any cut lines around here because it's gonna leak. I'll have to weld it up and seal it up and all that. So I'm gonna keep all my cuts underneath that can be covered up and sealed up easily. Okay, so still got some figuring out to do, but that's the idea on these front cuts on the right side at least. Now this side, I still need to take some stuff apart here. I need to get this window out, I need to get this wire out of the way, and this panel needs to come out. So the seatbelt bracket, and there's a screw down here, and maybe this seatbelt piece. So all this just needs to get out of the way so I can see how this is connected up here. And then same with the front. I gotta get this, you know, the window has to come out so I can see the front, where the front cross member connects, where I'm gonna cut that. It should hopefully be somewhat similar or easier than that because that took a lot of thinking. So yeah, and then all these, I'm just gonna cut them probably either an inch above or below the rivet. I want to cut it right in the middle because believe the rivet is in the middle. So we'll see. It really doesn't matter as long as they're cut straight. It really doesn't matter where in the hat channel you cut it. And then the back here, haven't really thought about this too much, so I'll come back to this when I think it over. But yeah, like my repair. Well, I just wanted to get the rivet line straightened out enough to where I could raise it, and then I'll figure this out later. It's so ugly, but at least it's not caved in like it was. Okay. And yeah, that's about it. I'll bring y'all back when I'm ready to mark the cuts for the bus. So yeah, it's getting pretty close to the roof raise. So I'm just gonna go around and, just continue to prep and straighten metal out. So there's some like glue here. I might get some goof off and clean that up, because when I put the new sheet here, I'm gonna put sealant, and I want a good surface that sealant can stick to. I don't want dirty, with stuff sticking. You see this stuff flapping out. So just kind of clean all that up. I might take a sander to it or something to get a nice fresh surface that sealant can stick to. So yeah, that's about it. I'll bring y'all back. My phone and computer is out of memory, or else I would do some more time lapses of me doing this stuff. But you've already seen. I'm not going to do anything different than I've already showed in detail. I'm not using any other methods that I haven't showed in detail already. One thing I do need to do is, where is an example here? Somewhere right here. So get this out of here. Okay. The sheet metal's got to go right in between there, right? But if I can get this camera focused, see there's part of a rivet still in there. So I got to come through, and then there's some sealant. If I can get the camera, sealant up in there. So I just need to clean this channel out. Get anything out that is going to prohibit the sheet metal from going in and sitting flat to the hat channel and to the drip edge. So I may, run a scraper or sawzall or, something just to kind of get all that stuff up out of there. And then, of course, scrape all this stuff off and hammer out the rivets. All the stuff I've been doing, I just got to continue to do around the bus. All right. That's it until I get a new hard drive, but I will make sure to bring you back once I mark the cuts. One more thing. Well, I'll show you later. All right, bye.